Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we're getting a jump on spring cleaning by attacking our backlogs. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. One of our neighbors, I can't tell if it's like in our building or the building across the street, but they are like playing the saxophone a lot recently. And so it like wafts through the air. It kind of feels like I'm in the beginning of a 1970s like neo-noir, Chinatown or something.
Are they good?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that can make a difference. Our neighbor just on the side, just like next to us, has started playing piano, started playing keyboard, and like they're pretty good. So like it's fine, and they also don't play too long or too late. So like it's sort of the best version of it, but occasionally too loud. Occasionally it's too loud.
Yeah, there's no I mean, you're just in a no-win scenario if you want to play your instrument in an apartment building.
Right. Yeah. I mean, technically we signed like lease agreements that said that we wouldn't have musical instruments in the apartment. And we were there
That's
with the
right.
landlord, the woman who owns the building. And we're like, we've got like 9 instruments. And she was like, I don't care. We're like, okay. Speaking of things my old landlord doesn't care about, my copy of Sonic Forces, would you like to borrow it? You could if you would like. All you gotta do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And give us a mailing address, and then your name and address goes on a list, and I may end up sending you my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. You play it for as long as you want. You send it back. I pay for postage both ways. It's pre-addressed. You don't have to do anything, really. One thing you might have to do is put up with a copy of Untitled Goose Game, because the goose is in there as a spoiler. I am sorry. Sometimes you get the goose. Sometimes you want the goose and you end up getting Sonic Forces. Apologies all around, but it's a perfect program, so we dare not question it.
The other thing we're doing is we are giving away a copy of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Ooh, that gets me every single time. Here we go.
It's tough.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp
Yes.
FE.
Yes.
An code for the US eShop. All you got to do in order to have a chance to win is write into us.
Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
And in the subject line, write Sharp FE. That is the hashtag FE. And then in the body of the email, write who your Mirage would be, your avatar, the person that gives you your power. It can be a Nintendo character. It can be anything in the world. And do that by March 15th. We'll collect all of those entries, and we'll be randomly selecting one, and then we'll send you the code.
Some great emails so far. Whether or not you describe a good or funny or appropriate Mirage will have no bearing on the likelihood that you get a copy of this game, but I like reading them, so keep sending them along. I'm sure we will talk about it on the episode where the recipient is selected. And hey, Mark, you've been loving this game, right? Or at least you've been playing it.
No, I am. I am loving it. Right before we were recording tonight, I was going on a second date in the game with somebody, and of course the character you play like is totally oblivious to the fact that everybody has a crush on you. Like the big revelation that my character had like 3 minutes before I went on this date was like, oh my gosh, everybody sees me as the leader, and it's like, yeah, dude, that's the whole point of the entire game. Anyways, I love it. Yeah, it's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
All right, Mark, let's get into our topic of the week. Let's reevaluate our backlogs. Now, this topic sort of came up because a couple weeks ago I had expressed that I was in a gaming rut, that there are 3 games that I continue to play over and over again. Those games are Animal Crossing, Ring Fit Adventure, and Hades. Um, and at this point, like, I'm not getting any like new joy out of them. I'm just stuck in them. And in some ways that's comforting and that's fine. And like, I will continue to play Animal Crossing and Ring Fit Adventure at least, but probably also Hades. But we thought it might be a good idea to. Well, we got an email from Colton, and Colton writes. I'm going to read part of this email here. Colton writes, Mark and Patrick, I have some suggestions to help you get out of your game rut. And then here are the suggestions. So we're going to read through these suggestions and we're going to talk about them real quick. But then we are going to go through the entirety of Nintendo's first party output for the Switch, and sort of evaluate whether any of those qualify as backlog worth revisiting for us. But so Colton's suggestions are Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is of course the Breath of the Wild like Ubisoft game. Colton writes, the Ubisoft game is not as good as Nintendo's beautiful masterpiece, but I was intrigued by it because of the visuals, and dove deep, and it was a quite good experience. I would give it an 8. Then Colton goes on to say that he played it on a PlayStation 5 and warns me not to be too put off by the voice acting, that there's a lot of it up front, but that it kind of goes away and it ends up being a quiet game like Breath of the Wild. And then there are 2 suggestion number 2s, which Colton, confusing. But number 2, Final Fantasy IV, aka 2 in the US, the SNES version. I played this recently for the first time ever, and man, what a great game. I don't think it's available on any modern systems in a legitimate form, but that may make it more difficult. Colton, you're correct. Final Fantasy 2/4 is not available in any like easily accessible way. I do have a Super Nintendo cart for it, and I love that game to pieces. If I were to play it, it would be a feeling like I'm 12 years old again kind of thing, much like I'm doing currently with Final Fantasy 3. So like, good suggestion, but I'm sort of already scratching that specific itch. Colton also suggests Final Fantasy 15 and tells me to ignore the haters. That it is a fun game, and then also mentions Dark Souls Remastered, which I know, Mark, you were playing on Switch for a while.
Yeah, that's right. And it's one of those where like I played it, was really enjoying it, put it down, and then Dark Souls, like those sorts of games are hard for me to come back to because it requires
Totally.
like such a rhythm that it's easy to get out of.
Yeah, and so Colton suggested there are a lot of not first party games, which is a totally valid like avenue to go down. We are going to, for this episode, sort of stick to the first party output, games that we have almost certainly talked about in some capacity on the show before. But there was a while there where a lot of games were coming out, or where things felt like they were our genre and they weren't, or we were doing something else. Anyway, there's a lot here, so let's dig into it. I've got these roughly arranged by release date. And I've also tagged every single game that has gotten like a significant amount of DLC that may, make it warrant revisiting. I did not put a little marker on games that have received like constant updates, like Mario Tennis Aces or Splatoon 2. Although Splatoon 2 did have a major update, so it is tagged. Look, we'll talk about it when we get to it. The first game on the list is, of course, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Mark, I feel like I've had the experience that I'm going to have with this game, and if I were to play it now, it would be replaying it, right?
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. One thing that I dabbled with but didn't really spend a ton of time with was like master mode, which I couldn't even really get off the
Great Plateau.
Yeah, I couldn't get off the Great Plateau. I couldn't really do anything past like the first like shrine or so, just because it was all too much for me. So yeah, I think my Breath of the Wild experience, I had it, I loved it, and now I'm looking forward to like whatever the sequel brings.
Yeah, and someday I think there'll be enough distance between me and the first time I played Breath of the Wild that I will want to revisit it just like as it is, but we are not there yet. Next game on the list is Snipper Clips, which did in fact receive a significant amount of DLC, including new like maps and puzzles and multiplayer stuff. Is this I played a bunch of this game right when it came out, sort of as part of there was nothing else on the Switch at this point. I think I've probably had my fill of it. But Mark, I know you revisited Snipper Clips not that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it was probably
It's probably a year ago.
yeah. But man, Snipper Clips is the sort of game where I think I would need like a reason to go back to it. Like I would need
Yeah.
like to do it with a group. I don't think I want to play by myself. I didn't pick up the DLC at all. I can't remember. Did you pick it up?
I think I did. I don't know. This is one that I think I bought the DLC being like, yes, I will get back to it. But I maybe just had to be honest with myself that like my experience with Snipper Clips until I'm, in a place where I'm physically playing video games again with like someone new, like actually in that space, that it's not there's no real reason to revisit.
Yep. Yeah.
Next on the list is of course the classic 1-2 switch. I've had my experience with that. I don't need to revisit. Mark?
I've had my experience with that too. And that was like the 15 minutes that I played at your house. And that was all I needed.
Yeah, and then you get the idea. You answer the phone. That's the best game in there is answer the phone. Next game on here is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
This is one for me that's kind of like Snipper Clips where it's like I know that it exists, but I rarely like want to return to it. When I do return to it, like I have fun for the time that I'm playing it, but man, I mean, this is one where yes, please give me DLC.
Oh my gosh, if there was a DLC tag on there, I'd be there right away. Yeah, I mean, I played so much of this game when it was on the Wii U, and then also have played a bunch of it on the Switch, and I feel like it's still a fantastic game, and I do have fun whenever I play it, but like, man, I know every single one of those tracks, like backwards and forwards, like the game holds no surprises for me anymore. So yeah, I'm not saying that like I'm done with it, but like there's no like reason to play it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe along the same vein as that is Arms. Mark, I forget. Did you pick up Arms?
I did not buy it. I didn't really love the demo. Like I couldn't the motion controls I wasn't super into. The regular controls I wasn't super into. So it just wasn't like it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I did. I played a fair amount of Arms. I would say that even for like I always get excited about one-on-one fighting games. Not there are obviously some that I don't, but I get excited about a lot of them. And I usually end up putting more time into them than I ended up actually putting into Arms. Not because I don't like it aesthetically, but just kind of like I don't know, the gameplay is just like a shade off of what I really want. So I think that's probably another one that goes in the like I've had my experience with it. It's neat when they do a sequel. We'll talk again, but like, until then, I'm sort of out. Which leads us to Splatoon 2, which did in fact have a big healthy chunk of DLC in the form of the Octo expansion. Over like 2 years ago now at this point. Mark, how are you feeling about Splatoon 2?
Oh man, the Super Mario Brothers Splatfest that they had just like a few weeks ago. That was so much fun because it brought me back to the game after it had been, a while since I had played it. And once I'm into Splatoon 2, like I remember how much fun it is. And so it makes me on the one hand sad that like Splatfests are over with. On the other hand, really excited to see Splatoon 3 announced for next year. So that way, like more Splatoon in my life. I'm very excited for. I didn't pick up the Octo expansion, and
it's cool.
I know. I remember you liking it, but I also remember it being described as like very difficult. And
it is that. Yeah.
I never completed the like the single player content that's in Splatoon 2, just like the regular one. Just because I found some of it like I was kept failing like the task, and so it just became tedious to like try again and again. And so that's what kind of put me off the expansion stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, like I never finished the expansion, but like I definitely got to the point where I had like maxed out my ability to like finish the challenges as they presented themselves. Yeah, at this point, like I'm gonna put it in the like I don't need to revisit category, partially because I want to keep that like rarefied air for when Splatoon 3 comes out. And then it's gonna be the sweeter, right? It's gonna be so good.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, I have so many questions about this game. Like, will Splatoon 3 have Salmon Run? Will it have something else in place of
Oh
Salmon
man.
Run?
Or will it have Salmon Run and
I would
something
love
else like
that.
that?
Ooh, I would love
Oh
that.
man. Last time you and I got on and just played Salmon Run together, that was so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. I love Salmon Run.
I don't want to talk myself out of my decision to like not go back to it. But every now and then I feel like I should go back to it. Number 7 on our list is Flip Wars. What?
Yeah, this is the robot bottom bash, right? Where they're like stomping their butts
Yeah.
on tiles to flip it over. This is one of those like totally weird. It feels like maybe like a tech demo that they turn into a downloadable title. This is
Yeah.
I never think about it except when I'm making some sort of joke on this podcast about Flip Wars.
Yeah, 100%. Have no experience with it. Have decided that's my experience with it. There are a couple other like pretty small like single concept like indie-ish games that are on this list that I think are more interesting and that I may actually be interested in coming back to. We'll get to them way later down the list, but I think Flip Wars is just going to be, relegated to the joke bin of history for us here. Next on the list, Mark, I say we switch off at the 10, and then we go back and forth of who's leading. Perfect. Next, number 8 is Pokken Tournament DX, which has received a lot of DLC in the form of new characters. I gave this one sort of a second look when it was free to play as part of Nintendo Switch Online. I have had my experience with it, which is maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I don't need to revisit.
Yeah,
That's all I need.
I played the demo when that was I think first released, and fighting games aren't really my thing. And this one I found just like not just super not my thing.
Yeah. Next up is Fire Emblem Warriors, which is of course the Dynasty Warriors, the Musou-esque game featuring Fire Emblem characters. So I think if there are, because Fire or like Dynasty Warriors like games are going to appear a couple times on this list, and I think if there's any that I like plug myself back into, for me it's going to be Age of Calamity, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I played Fire Emblem Three Houses last year. Was it last year? 2 years ago? It might have
2 years ago, 2019.
That's crazy. Um, and had like a blast with it. But I don't know that much other like Fire Emblem stuff. And although I guess like Warriors is a new story, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But who am I
Yeah.
kidding? I feel like I always trick myself with these Muso games where I'm like, this one I'm going to like play and like really enjoy, but I always like quickly hit a wall. So this is another one that I think I am it's just not for me.
Right. Didn't buy. Am not going to.
Yeah.
Not gonna be tricked into it.
Up next is Super Mario Odyssey. Whew. So this one, I put a lot of time into. Did not do like I have not gotten every moon possible. And weirdly, when there was a time, maybe like at this point, it was like 2 years ago where I revisited it, and I was having a lot more fun with it than I was like when I initially played it. Um, but I actually found that Odyssey, for some reason, I have a hard time going back to, for the same reason I had a hard time going back to Breath of the Wild when the DLC came out. And that was because like in order to like I feel like in order to get a lot of the moons, in order to progress to a certain point in Odyssey, you have to like master the controls, and I could never like master the controls to the point where I'm like throwing my hat, doing a dive, hitting
Oh
Cappy,
yeah.
bouncing off of it, like doing the next thing and chaining those things together. And so I kind of felt like I like hit the ceiling of what I could accomplish in Odyssey, which is a little bit of a bummer because there was so much left of that game.
Yeah. I had gotten to that point where like I had this sort of like Mario moveset galaxy brain of throwing the hat, diving, jumping off the hat, throwing it again, diving again, and like really covering huge expansive areas. And I played a lot of that Luigi's Balloon World,
Mm-hmm.
like with that in mind, because like people can really get Mario like jetting through the world, and then placing balloons in like impossible to reach places. But I feel like I also hit a wall on that where like, you're either like there are a couple places people hide balloons because they're far away or they're high or whatever. and you just learn how to get those, and those are the only places people put them, or they found a way to like glitch in the middle of the pyramid. And you're like, well, I'm just never gonna get this balloon, so what's the point? Um, and that's sort of the downfall of any sort of like user generated content, right? Is that you're gonna go back and forth between like, oh, this is so easy because I've done it a bunch of times, and this is literally impossible. So yeah, I love Super Mario Odyssey. Think I'm done with that game.
Yeah, for me, I would put it in the Breath of the Wild category, where it's like I know that someday I'm going to come back and revisit
Absolutely,
this, but
yes.
I'm not quite ready to like start from scratch on it yet. Next is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I have no experience with.
Xenoblade Chronicles, both 1 and 2, are games that I was like, this will be the one. This will be the release that gets me into Xenoblade. I think 2 is more likely than 1 for me to go back to, but I don't, the aforementioned warning about like, hey, Patrick, don't let the voice acting get you down in Immortals Phoenix Rising, because there isn't that much of it eventually. I don't think that is true about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think those characters are chatty throughout, so I think that's probably going to keep me away forever.
I actually want to jump ahead a little bit because I feel like the thing that would bring me to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 might be Torn of the Golden Country.
Now that is interesting.
Which I've heard good things about and is its own like separate thing. And also I think is supposed to be like shorter than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like it's not as big, and that's appealing to me. So I think that's one that I would take a look at, as like that is something I'm interested in experiencing, because it feels like it would allow me to like I mean in a way it'd allow me to like experience a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but then also
without
have
having
like
to play Xenoblade
yes,
Chronicles
exactly.
2.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, I mean I can totally see where like that is appealing, although at this point I have spent $120 on Xenoblade Chronicles games that I've not played more than like 4 hours of, and I cannot justify spending another $20 or 30 or whatever it is.
I think that is totally fair. But I wonder how I can denote this, because I feel like at the end of this, we should have some sort of like list that I can say, okay, these are games. So maybe I'll just put a little asterisk next to it for me.
Okay. And I haven't said anything yet, right? That I'm going to go back to?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, so Dragon Quest Builders is our next game, which is a Square Enix developed game but published in the US by Nintendo. I played the demo for this one, had a blast with it, but there are so many games where I'm like, ooh, this would be fun if I could sink like my teeth into it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I can't sink my teeth into it because I just don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Mark, I'm going to pull a Mark on this one. And I'm going to say, let's jump ahead a little bit, because Dragon Quest Builders 2 is also on this list. And that is one that I played the huge demo. What's it called? A giant demo. It's something. It's hilarious. They use a synonym for big in describing the demo, and I really liked it and was like, this is something that I should play and would actually really really enjoy. And I didn't do it. So I think this is one that I'm going to say I am going to put on my list. And Mark, you put an asterisk. I'm going to put a P to mark something that I'm interested in revisiting.
So, okay, now we have to talk about Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, which correct me if I'm wrong, for an episode of the show, we both played Bayonetta 2, or did you play Bayonetta 1 and I played Bayonetta 2? Can't remember how we did it.
I don't remember. I think we split it up. I think we split it up because I think I have the package that has both of the games. Though I don't.
I definitely only
so
have this.
Yeah,
I definitely only have the second game. I just remember not really liking it.
Yeah. I think the like flashy character action game is not really our genre unless we're like really into the character, and even then, like I just don't think we really care that much about it. So I think it's fair to say that neither of us are interested in revisiting Bayonetta.
Star Allies, Kirby Star Allies. What to make of this game? Because if we're talking about like backlogs and like things we might want to return to, I'm torn a little bit because I think that probably now Kirby Star Allies is a much better game when I played it originally when it
Yeah,
first came out.
I think I want to push back against that a little bit though, because not that I checked in on it, a full year or more after its release, but I checked in after the like first release of like the Kirby friends that you
Yeah.
could like transform into that aren't just the enemies. And while that's a fun feature, it's not like they ever added any new levels or like anything else gameplay wise. Like it's just other characters, and like you kind of need the various character abilities that don't fall into the category of like what the buddies can do. Um, so I don't know. I do not think it has actually improved that much since it was released.
Mm,
There's more in it, but I don't think any
yeah.
of it is like stuff you have to or even really want to play with.
I think my mistake with the first time I played it is I didn't play it in with multiplayer. Like it was
Yeah,
just me, and it was not. I don't think that was the right way to experience that game.
I'll agree with that.
Up next is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which ooh, did I love this game. I'm super into Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and this is one that goes in the Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey pile for me, where it's like I know that someday I am coming back to experience this.
Yeah, just to like to play it again. Which would also be the situation for me. I never bought it on Switch though. I've only played the Wii U version. So maybe that is one that I will actually like. Oh, if I could pick up like a used copy, not have to pay full price for it. That might be nice because I'm always like hurting for a new like uh or newer like side scrolling platformer sort of experience, especially one that's as polished as Tropical Freeze.
And I think that some of the changes they made to Tropical Freeze, like for Switch, giving characters an extra heart and stuff like that, make a
Yeah.
huge difference. Like it's still difficult, but um, not like super punishing, which is the reputation of the game on Wii U.
Yep. And it's well earned. So
So Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, this one again falls into that same sort of category where like I'm with you. I think if I were to go back and try to finish one of these games or get into one of these games, it would be Age of Calamity.
yeah, well, 100%. And I mean, well, it is impressive that Hyrule Warriors in its definitive edition has so much content in it in terms of like playable characters and stuff. It becomes the game is already like a mishmash of different Zelda games, and it with all the extra content is like heightened to a level of absurdity where it's just like Zelda nonsense being thrown at you through a Muso engine for hours and hours and hours, almost unlimited number of hours. So yeah, I don't feel the need to go back to that.
And then next is Pokemon Quest, which is an interesting entry. It's also a mobile game. It's free to play, kind of has like a Minecrafty aesthetic, or at least all like
Yeah,
it's very
they're all
blocky.
real blocky. Yeah.
hmm and this my experience with this was a lot like other Pokemon games where I just played. I guess I just started it because it was free to play, and I thought it was super cute. And then but not enough to keep going.
Yeah, this is one I downloaded, didn't ever turn on, and then deleted from my Switch. Again, free to play, so no big deal. But yeah, there's no way I'm going back to this one.
And then Sushi Striker, Way of the Sushido. Played the demo, but I played it on Switch, and I don't know how this game is supposed to operate on Switch. Like, obviously, it was also released on the 3DS, and I think that makes way more sense because of the touch controls, where you're like tossing like sushi
Yeah,
plates and like all that kind of stuff. It was just way less. You can play it in touchscreen like handheld mode on Switch, but I just don't think it was a game that worked that well.
yeah, and I mean like this, I there was a demo, right? Yeah, there definitely was a demo. And I remember playing it too, and just like not really being able to wrap my head around like the puzzle mechanic of it. Like you can get through a lot of levels by just like kind of swiping around and being like, yeah, I think that's how that goes. But like I never reached a point where I was like, I get it and I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one that I will again to the joke bin, right? Like the one that we can bring up as a joke later on.
hmm
Next up is Mario Tennis Aces. the Camelot developed Mario Tennis game with sort of a rough story mode, or a story mode that mostly led to a series of hyper difficult challenges that didn't really let you like progress or grow or anything like that. I think I had my fun with this game. I did finish the story mode, and like I never quite got so good at the game that I could like hold my own online. Um, and like that's I don't know, that's a big enough threshold for me that like I'm not getting back to it.
Yeah, I kind of had my experience with it, and then later they released an update for the game that kind of like made story mode a little bit more approachable. But for me, the big hangup was I could never get the online to work, and
Yeah.
so like they would have all these tournaments, and I know that I would get crushed, but I couldn't even play a single match, and so that kind of like the shine wore off the game fairly quickly. So this is another one where it's like, yeah, I think I had my experience with it too, and I'm curious, what's your temperature on the golf game?
I mean, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna try it out. Like, I've enjoyed the little bit of Mario Golf on the 3DS that I have been playing for the last like month or so. Um, just as like a nice chill kind of like low stakes Mario experience. So like I'm into that, and I feel like the tennis offers something similar, and I've just burned through that experience, you know.
Yeah, I think that for the golf game, like Rush Mode or whatever it's called, that seems like
Yeah, that
chaotic
seems
fun.
really cool. Next up is Octopath Traveler, a game that I think both of us have played maybe a quarter of, maybe an eighth of. And as previously discussed on this show, no one can finish this game. Not no one can. It can never be finished. I think I've had my experience with Octopath Traveler. Give me that triangle strategy, baby.
Yeah, Octopath. It's interesting because like I feel like I got my money's worth of Octopath Traveler, even though I didn't finish the game.
Yes.
Like I had like an experience that I wanted to have, and it was like great. And that's how I feel about like Project Triangle Strategy, where I'm like, I know I'm looking at this game, and I know that I am never going to finish this game, but
Oh yeah.
but like I cannot wait for like to get into it, and I will buy it at full price. And I honestly, for me, I think some of it is like that like 2D HD or whatever they call it.
It's
Like those
beautiful. Yeah.
aesthetic choices are so good because you would think that I would have the same sort of affinity for Bravely Default 2, and I don't. I'm like I don't. I have like almost no interest in that game, even
Yes.
though I think like if I got into it mechanic wise, I would probably have. I imagine that I would get as
It's
far into
pretty
Bravely
similar
Default 2.
mechanically. Yeah.
But I'm not going to. Aesthetically, they just like hooked me, and
Yeah.
so I really enjoyed my time with Octopath Traveler, and I anticipate that I will be playing about the same amount of Project Triangle Strategy.
Look, those games, they're like the perfect game to play 20 hours of, and then realize you need to put in another 100 and then stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like quite good enough, but it's not.
Yeah.
But like I still feel like yeah, like for 20 hours or whatever I played into it, I feel
I
like
mean, let's just appreciate how wild it is that we can say like, yeah, I enjoyed it for 20 minutes or 20 hours. But 20 hours, Mark, like it's such a long amount of time to derive enjoyment out of a piece of art. Like that should be enough. Like
yeah, totally.
there's no shame in being like I'm not going to play the back, 100 hours. Like it's fine. Next up is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. This one I played a very little bit of on Switch because I had sort of already played it to death on Wii U. This is one that for me I am ready to go back to. Like it has been
Mm-hmm.
enough time. I would like to really dig into Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker on Switch. It'll be a replaying experience, but yeah, this is one that like as far as backlogs are concerned, I'll put back on there as a replay experience. I'm there.
And this one has DLC, I think, right? Like,
It's less like levels and more like the two-player mode and
got
like
it.
a couple, is it like the Find Luigi thing part of that? I don't remember.
I don't remember
Um
either. So I have never played any of this game. I played the demo when they had one for Switch, and then like there are the levels in Super Mario 3D World that give you that same sort of like experience. But yeah, this is one that I think I will definitely put on my backlog. One of the things I'm appreciating now that I have like more time with Super Mario 3D World is just like how adorable Captain Toad is. And we
So
always knew
cute.
that Captain Toad was adorable, but like his emotions, like his facial expressions, the way he runs, the way he approaches the world is just really, really cute.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to play more of it.
Next up is Go Vacation, developed by Bandai Namco. Yeah, getting a big shrug from me too, Mark. I'm just gonna mark it off here, and neither of us are gonna revisit or visit it. Um, next up is Super Mario Party, a difficult game for the time that we live in, because it so demands that you be in a space with at least two other people, probably four people total. Um, I don't know. I can't imagine a world where I go back to Super Mario Party in any capacity.
Yeah, and I don't think I'll ever pick it up. I think like s- Mario Party for me as a franchise, because I've never like ever sunk time into like a particular game. It's always been like, oh, I played one at my friend's house, or I rented this and then played it
Yeah.
for a little bit before we returned it. And so for me, Mario Party is kind of like Mario Kart, where it's like, or the Just Dance series, where it's like, oh, the most recent one is always the one I'm going to pick up.
Yeah.
So like Super Mario Party, I'm not going to get, but maybe the next one I will.
Yeah, and if I do find myself in a situation where someone's like, "What can the four of us all do together with Joy
Yeah,
Cons?" Then I'll be like, "Oh, okay, we could play a round
play
of
one,
Super
two,
Mario
switch.
Party." Nope, I would think that we would go to Super Mario Party and just to do the raft mini game. Did you ever mess around with that? It was
No,
so
but I
fun.
remember. Yeah, I never did.
It's a good fun time. There are a lot of like cooperative games that it makes you play with four people, which is utter chaos, and I absolutely adore it. Next on the list is The World Ends With You Final Remix, of course, developed by Square Enix. And this is a sorta remake of a Nintendo DS game from like 20 years ago. Um, this was supposed to be like kind of a crummy port, right?
Oh, I
That
don't
like
know. I don't. Is that the case? I could see how, um, like this game is available on mobile. It's available on
yeah,
tablets. It's available a lot of other places, and I could see how that is the ideal way to play it. Since the original game was created for the DS, so the touch mechanics are a big part of it. I don't. I don't remember if it was considered a bad port or not. But we have the sequel coming.
that's
Uh,
right.
this year, or I guess in the future. I can't remember
I
if we
think we
know when
just
it's
have it
coming or
coming. Yeah, I
not.
don't. Yeah.
And so this is one that I would like to revisit with
Whoa.
with the caveat that I think I would do it on tablet. Like I think I would just buy it from the like App Store and not necessarily buy the Switch version of it. But
Yeah,
so
that's smart.
I'm going to do this like this is a qualified asterisk. This is a qualified pickup for me. Um yeah, I think this is a series that I want to get into, or at least attempt.
Let's make that an asterisk with an asterisk. Oops. Perfect. Next up, of course, is Pokemon Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu. This is not a game that I picked up, but Mark, I know that you had spent some time with Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu. Pikachu, right? You went Pikachu version?
No, I went
Why
Eevee,
can I never remember this?
and I think that I might have brought it over to your house at one point,
Yeah.
and we played like a little bit of the drop-in multiplayer. I loved Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I loved that they brought the catch mechanic over from Go. That's one of the things that I find so annoying in Pokemon is having to like whittle their
Yeah.
health down without knocking them out and then trying to capture them. I like that it was just straight into like, hey, let me like capture these Pokemon. I had a ton of fun. Had more fun with it than I did with Shield. And
Hmm.
if they made another one in the Let's Go style, I would 100% be on board. That being said, I feel like I had my experience with it and I don't necessarily need to go back, but I would totally go to another region. I
Yeah.
just had so much fun. It was like the Pokemon that I wanted.
Yeah, and like that's a little bit where I am too, minus the fact that I didn't actually play this game. So like I do feel like I would be interested in an experience like this, but the idea that we may be getting another Let's Go for like a newer generation, possibly this year, or Pokemon celebrating its 25th anniversary, so like who knows. um Makes me feel like, instead of revisiting this or visiting it for the first time, visiting the old game, which is then, it's also, like, since sort of a remake of Red and Blue, is a game that I have played before, right? Like in some capacity. um so yeah, I'll hold out for the next one and make like an evaluation at that time. Number 28 on our list is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which of course has received multiple extra rounds of DLC, as we go through this. I have gone back to Super Smash Bros. A couple times, like during the pandemic and all of that. This one kind of feels like it's in the same vein as the games that I keep playing, but like I don't feel any like new fresh joy from. Even when there's like I bought the new character pack because I knew I was going to eventually. After they announced Sephiroth, I was like, all right, that's enough. I'll do it. Um, and so like I messed around with the new characters for a little bit, and got the new spirits from like their specific spirit boards, and like I'll keep coming back to it like that. But it's never gonna be a game that I can like really zero in on and like focus on, and play it like seriously. Because I don't even know if the game wants to be played seriously.
Yeah, I think what I'm looking for is kind of like the same thing for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Snipper Clips, where it's like, ooh, like I am dying for the opportunity to be with a group of people who are like, hey, let's play Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to take to get me back to Ultimate, which I think is like an absolutely amazing game. But I personally am feeling like a little bit weirdly like fatigued with like new characters. Like I totally forgot that Sephiroth was announced for it
Yeah, right.
and like is in the game right now. But that's just because like that's not where my like attentions are really. Like I feel like we've been so spoiled with awesome characters in Smash Brothers that it is exciting when a new one is announced, but I also feel like they've just like kind of uh run out of characters in a weird way where it's like I don't know what like what is
What
what
can
could
possibly get us excited? Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Next up is fitness boxing, which, look, I got Ring Fit Adventure. I don't need another. I don't need another fitness game on the Switch.
I tried the demo for fitness boxing too, and I think these
Mark,
games
you're
are.
skipping ahead. You're skipping ahead.
I
What you
am skipping.
can do,
I am skipping ahead.
if you want.
I think these games are a budget price, and for
Mm.
what they do, like it seemed fine, but not something that I am eager to revisit.
I am just going ahead and marking off Fitness Boxing 2 as well with Fitness Boxing 1. Yeah, that games we don't really need to revisit.
So New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. This is a game that I did revisit maybe a year ago. Maybe it was during the pandemic. I can't remember. But I had bought it when it first was released on Switch and back in 2018. And I don't think, like I played it a little bit, but you and I had played the Wii U version for this show not that long before it was released on Switch. And so I
Yeah.
was feeling just a little bit like, oh, great. Like I have this, but I don't need to play it again. And then, maybe a year ago, got back into it and really fell in love with this game. I think it's amazing. I think because I still feel like I played it fairly recently, I'm not ready to go back to it yet. But there is that like Super Luigi stuff that
Yeah.
I
The
have
more
not
difficult versions of
yeah,
the
that
levels. Yeah.
exactly, and I have not played. So maybe, but no, I still have like 3D World to get through.
Yeah, you got Mario to play. Yeah, this is one that I'm done with. Like I've played that game, um, both when you and I played it together, and that was even like a revisiting of the game for me. So yeah, like I think I'm done.
Tetris 99. Hmm.
Mark, I have put more hours into Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch than all other games I've played on the system combined, like by a country mile. Like it is 500 or 600 hours of Tetris 99. It is a game that I will like subconsciously find myself playing again. That like I don't have any control over it. The game plays me, I think. So like I it's never really off my frequently played games list. Just because I don't bring it up on every week's show doesn't mean I'm not playing it. So yeah, I don't. I don't even know how to properly answer the question of like what my relationship is with it.
Yeah, and I guess like I don't know how to classify mine either. It's definitely not something that I'm playing often. In fact, I kind of forget about it. But whenever there's a new Tetris Maximus Cup,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
always like bringing it out. So I would say that it's like in a soft backlog for me. But I don't feel like I wouldn't mark it as like I'm going to revisit it because I don't feel like I've ever like fully put it away.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not playing it super often. So but yeah, keep on trucking, Tetris 99.
Love it. Game of the year every year.
Oh, Yoshi's Crafted World.
Yeah, a dark horse that I feel like has been all but forgotten.
Yeah, and I intend to keep it forgotten. I do not intend to play this game.
I really enjoyed this game. I played all the way through it, got everything in it. And yeah, I don't feel the need to revisit it. Most of my enjoyment was of playing it co-op with my friend Taylor. He was visiting for like the weekend, and we spent too much time playing this game. Had a really fun time, but like I don't. I think on the revisit, any of its adorable spectacle is going to be kind of dulled by the fact that I've seen it before, and I'm not experiencing it with a friend.
Box Boy plus Box Girl. Ooh, this is a good one.
This is a good one.
Played a lot of Bye Bye Box Boy.
Bye bye, Box Boy.
Or did I? I know that I know that I bought it, but now that I think about it, I
Mhm.
actually think probably the one that I put the most time into is Box Boy plus Box Girl. Um, but would I want to revisit it? Yes. The answer is yes in a co-op capacity. But
Yes.
because I feel like my memory, and it is hazy at this point, clearly, is that there are some like levels where you can't actually like access everything unless you're doing the co-op levels. And so
I think
that
that's right.
kind of like frustrated me a little bit and put me off exploring a lot more. But I loved dressing up in my box. I loved like
It's
using
so
like the
good.
costume
Yep.
features and the different combinations. That was super fun. Box is adorable. Box Boy is adorable. I like this world. This would be a fun one to revisit with somebody else.
Yeah, we should at some point, when we feel comfortable, like meeting in a park or something, play some co-op Box Boy Box Girl. Can you do it on like them like network together?
I don't. I
So like,
think so. I think you have to be on the same like Wi-Fi network.
okay,
But I think. I mean, that tells you how little I've like used my
yeah.
Switch with other people. Is like I feel like it doesn't have a Bluetooth like
Oh
offline
yeah,
sharing,
that's a great
but
point.
I
Yeah,
don't know for sure.
don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna put both of our interest markers on here because I think we're both interested in revisiting Box Boy and Box Girl.
Which brings us to Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer. A fun like surprise reveal when this was announced, where it's like Crypt of the Necrodancer mashed up, which is an indie game mashed up with the Legend of Zelda series. And I don't know if you played Crypt of the Necrodancer. I can't remember if you played the demo or anything,
No.
but this is one that I liked more in theory than in practice when trying out the demo.
Yeah, and this is also one that has received like significant DLC since it was launched. But yeah, like none of it. The Zelda feels like such a explory kind of take your time game, and just knowing that this is so based on like rhythm and making a decision with every beat of the music, uh, kind of just makes me not interested in it.
What to do with Super Mario Maker 2?
What to do with Super Mario Maker 2? It's a great question because like it's good, and like you can always jump in and like play some new cool levels or like design some stuff and then run out of steam and then stop playing it again. I feel like this is my pattern with it, is that I always want to get into it more than I am actually able to get into it. The creation tools are so robust and so cool, and now there's like the world maker. Um and all that just feels like the sky is the not there are a ton of limits on it actually. um but like I'm just never gonna like I don't want to turn my game time into work time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And some of it for me is just like uh any of these games that have a creation mode, I just don't have really like the creativity or the patience
Hmm.
to take part in it. I loved the story mode in Super Mario Maker 2 because I
Oh
thought
yeah.
like they used it as a way to like seed ideas for, like, hey, here's like things you could do in Maker mode. But because of that, like there were some really unique takes on Mario platforming, and so I thought that was really fun. I think the thing that stops me from coming back to Mario Maker 2 is, like the fact that it's just really difficult to find levels that are fun to play.
Yeah.
Like even the I think it is so much fun to watch like in games done quick, like the speed runs of Mario Maker 2, but those levels are not would not be fun for me to play. And I feel like that's like what I run into a lot with the game where like um the levels just like aren't that fun. I liked the tagging system a lot. I liked where you could like
Hmm.
like add comments and like tag if you enjoyed playing levels, and like thought that was great. I just wish that Nintendo had been more active, not even in curation, but active in continuing to make their own levels and like promoting them on their channel. So that way there was a constant stream
Yeah.
of like content that I knew was going to be quality.
It also would have been nice if they had more curation tools like they did have with the original Super Mario Maker, where there was like a website where you could like keep playlists of levels and share them that way. Again, we have these phone apps that it seems like the integration and like how to share them and like turn that into a social network should be better. But it's just not. Like you have to see a code and you type it into your Switch, and it's just like, my God, I can't believe it takes so much effort to share and curate levels. Um, maybe for Super Mario Maker 3.
So we'd already mentioned Dragon Quest Builders 2. So the next one is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which did get DLC, which I did buy and which I really enjoyed my time with, and but I have not picked up for a long time at this point. Patrick, this is a game that I absolutely would love to go back to, but in the right scenario. And the right scenario
Mm,
for me is this.
is
It is
yeah.
when we don't have to quarantine anymore. You and I can hang out for an entire day, and all we're going to do from morning to night is play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 in multiplayer.
I mean, honestly, how dare you? That sounds beautiful. Honestly, this is a game that I like. I feel like is within my genre, is within my wheelhouse, is something that I wanted to play in the first place and simply didn't. I think probably because I was sort of our vanguard into Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like you caught up after spending your time with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but I was like, no, Three Houses for me. I need to play it right now. Um, but yeah, no, this is one that I'm putting on my proper backlog list. I want to play it.
It's really good. Like it's super fun. Yeah, man. I I would love to play this game in multiplayer. Next up is Fire Emblem Three Houses, which both you and I put a lot of time into, finished like at least one playthrough, seen one like storyline. I didn't pick up any of the DLC.
Yeah, I didn't either, but like it kind of falls into that category of Fire Emblem DLC where like some of it is meaningful, but a lot of it is just sort of like extra fluff. But there is that thing that like adds the extra house of like
Mm-hmm.
outcasts.
Yeah.
Um, I think that would I this is one that I think it actually would be a lot of fun to go in, pick a different house, probably the Black Eagles because like neither of us played that one and like yeah, I want to be the bad guys. Let me be the bad guys. And then also visit like the new house from the DLC. This is one that I think is probably like I don't think about it as something that I would like to revisit, but I would have a blast.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. Because I feel like I
Yeah,
had a very satisfying experience with it just with my one playthrough, but I do think going through another house would be really exciting.
yeah, and it's been enough time. It's been over a year. Like I want to get back to it.
So next is Astral Chain, and this is one that my interest is so piqued by because so many people that
Ooh.
I like know and whose opinion I respect had such a good time with it. but that everything leading up to its release, I was like not into.
That's that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, what do you find not interesting about it? Like,
I just
um,
remember like the
yeah,
trailers being like really off-putting, where
they do
it
that
was
thing that we hate, right?
yeah,
Of
where
just like
they're
the talking over
yeah, it's just like
scenes of generic action. Yeah.
right, with just like no context at all. And so I didn't feel like I knew what the game was. And even today, I don't feel like I could really tell you what the game is. Um, but I just know so many people who have liked it that it's like, oh, maybe I would like I need to reevaluate it or at least experience some of it because there's obviously something there that like I just dismissed.
Yeah, my worry is that it falls under the, and I think both of us just skipped it. Neither of us bought it or really put any. That there wasn't a demo, so I don't really have any experience with it. That's kind of where I'm happy, like leaving it for me personally. We mentioned with Bayonetta that like the third person stylish action game from platform isn't really our speed. I'm gonna maintain that on this one, but uh, Mark, do you think that's something that you'll go back to?
I think it is something. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say like yes because y- but I do wish there was a demo. I guess I'll say that.
Right, right.
Actually, what I really wish is that I could borrow it from somebody. Because I don't know that I
Yeah.
want to. I don't know that I want to buy it, but I would love to, like at least check it out.
Right.
Super Kirby Clash. This is the free to start, like
I
downloadable game.
I say we skip it. Like this is right. Like this and the Kirby Fighters 2 when we get to it. Like I don't think either of us have any interest in either of these games.
Totally, completely. Uh, oh yeah,
And speaking of that exactly, Damon X Machina, I think another one we can just pull off the list entirely, right?
yeah, yep.
Mark, you're reading the ones in the 40s, right?
Didn't I just do the ones in the 30s?
Did you? Oh yeah, maybe I'm messing it up. That's what was happening there. All right. Next up, number 42 is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. A beautiful remake of the Game Boy game, and one that I did do everything you can do, including all of the like dungeon maker stuff. Um, yeah, I have no need to revisit this. I loved it, but I'm done.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I also feel like there's less there to revisit. Like I think this is one that maybe in like 20 years or so I'll want
Yeah.
to go back to.
And then number 43 is Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. A game which I played an absolute ton of, finished, like theoretically. There's a bunch of like third act or end game stuff that like I never finished. Like I got to the point where it's like, oh no, now you have to grind like it's an old school Dragon Quest game. And I was like, okay, I've had over 100 hours of fun with this. I can safely walk away satisfied.
This is one that's on my wall of shame. It's my backlog of shame, and one that put an asterisk next to it with a bullet because I definitely intend to play it someday. I love Dragon Quest. I was so like hyped for this game, and I was really hyped for Patrick to get into it, and yet I have failed to like break the barrier. I played like
It's
maybe an
yeah.
hour of it and then just put it down because I tried
It's
to do
such
it
a
like
funny reversal, right? Because like
I
you had
know.
talked it up and like you had talked about like other Dragon Quest games coming to like 3DS and like all this stuff, and then like this game came out and I even picked up 11 on like PlayStation. Was like, nah, this isn't really for me. And then I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna try it. Mark thinks so highly of this series, and then I absolutely loved 11S, and it drives me nuts that you haven't gotten to it.
I know. I know it doesn't make sense. What I blame it on is like coming so close after me finishing Three Houses, where it was
Sure.
like, ooh, I just don't think I can do this again right now. But that's no excuse. I definitely need to put some time
Oh, it's
into
an
it.
excuse. It's an excuse. Next up is Luigi's Mansion 3, which also has DLC and, in particular, multiplayer DLC that you don't have to be local to play. You can do it online. Mark, I feel dumb for not playing this game more than I did. Like, I feel like this is one where I've genuinely messed up. I really like this game. I never finish it. I've never played it online. I think about playing it with my friend Trisha. I think about playing it with you, and I don't make any moves to actually do that.
Yeah, I feel like we tried, or one time we were like going to do it, but then like I didn't have it on downloaded on my Switch or something like that, and
Yeah,
so
and then we played Salmon Run
and so
instead.
yeah, because it was just like we just didn't want to wait that long. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. This is one where it's like, how did we never do the multiplayer? It just doesn't
I
make
don't know.
sense.
Let's make a date to actually do this, because I
Yeah.
think we can do this from our homes and be safe. Let's actually do this. Next up is Pokemon Sword and Shield. Mark, not being real big Pokemon guys, I feel like we both sort of got the experience we were going to get out of that. And, as Nintendo suckers, we will buy the next Pokemon whatever. So, like, I'll just save,
Totally.
any interest in playing the
100%.
next one. Next up on the list, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
This one feeling good about. Don't have to worry about it going to my
you're doing
backlog.
great.
I am having a grand old time with it. And don't forget that you also can have a grand old time with it by entering our contest.
I'm putting blinders up on this one. Maybe it would interest me, but I don't really care. I'm gonna say I'm blinders up on it.
Does
that make sense?
Fair.
I'm opting
it
out.
totally does. Yep. It's totally okay. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now this one I would 100% put in the category where I had my experience with it and I am happy to put it away. By the end I was feeling like a weird stress about Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And if I feel like if I'm experiencing that in my life, like Animal Crossing is just not worth it.
Don't make it
And
work.
so-
Don't make it work.
Yep.
Yes. Animal Crossing for me is an ongoing concern, impossible to revisit as I'm always visiting it. Playing it so much that it is part of the reason why we started this conversation about what in our backlog should we reinvestigate. So I have had my experience. I will continue to have my experience. Next up is Good Job, and this is one of those Nintendo published kind of indie-ish games that I don't think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like neither of us checked it out, right?
No, and I'm even having trouble remembering what exactly this one is. Is it like you're the weird like blob thing or something, and you're just making a
No.
mess at work? And
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you are making a mess at work, but like you're trying to get things done at work, and
Yeah.
you're like a little man.
Oh, okay.
You're not a blob, Mark. You're not a blob.
I probably won't check this out.
I'm not gonna lie, it's one I'm interested in.
Clubhouse games. What to do about Clubhouse games?
51 worldwide classics.
Yeah, and I picked this up. I played a tiny bit of it, played it online with friend of the show, June. Can't remember if you and I played a little bit of it
I
as
don't
well.
think we did. Yeah.
But I think the most fun I had was playing Yahtzee, and then that was like the extent of it.
Yeah, Sarah and I played Mancala one night, and it was really fun. And like it's just, I don't know. Yeah, this one almost doesn't even really feel like a game so much as it is just like the next time you want to do like board game night, you don't know like what to do. Like it's great to pull out. I don't even know if it belongs on this list of like things that you can revisit. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, I'm about to get way back into like checkers. Like, no, you're not.
Yeah, I don't know. This one just Clubhouse games did not really click for me, so it wasn't one that I was super excited for. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. You had blinders up for Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I have blinders up for Xenoblade Chronicles. It might as well not exist.
Yeah, I mean that's. I do not have blinders up. I keep trying them. But yeah, I'm not. I'm being honest with myself here. I am not going back to these games. Next up, the Ring Fit Adventure. Yeah, again, this is one of the games that I have been playing, and feel pretty good about playing. So yeah, an ongoing concern for me.
Ring Fitted, the like Ring Con is sitting kind of like behind my TV, so I see it constantly as I'm walking by and just like, oh yes, Ring Fit Adventure. I don't know that I'll come back to it. I really liked it, but like I think it's such a cool idea, and I was so amazed that it worked, and I had so much fun doing it. But then also I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a lot of work, because it is. Ring Fit Adventure is not easy.
No, yeah, I mean you're gonna work up a big old sweat, like for sure. But like, I don't know. I'm spending enough time just like at home sitting in front of a computer where I'm like, I need to get up, I need to do something,
Yeah.
and like I've walked through my neighborhood so many times. Like, I need to. If I didn't have Ring Fit Adventure right now, I don't. I think it has been a genuinely like sanity saving thing for me.
Next up is Stretchers, which is another one of those like indie. I don't even know how to classify it, but like smaller Nintendo published titles
Yeah,
that has the
and
feel of an indie game, but is not an indie game.
yeah, where you're like two dudes, like EMTs trying to ferry bodies from wherever they've injured themselves to your ambulance. This one looks awesome, and
It
like
does.
I don't know why we never like dug into it. I would for sure be interested in playing this one, and then if there is online multiplayer, so I put an asterisk next to it, even if even though you haven't said anything about it yet. Um, that if we could play it online together, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm sure I can convince Sarah to play some of this.
Yeah, for me, like, and I feel the same way about Good Job. Like, um, they may be worth like the $20 or whatever they are. Like, I'm not saying that they're not, but it's just too high a price for me to want to check it out.
I will remove your markup from the stretchers.
I just wish it was cheaper. Like,
Right.
uh, yeah. I also, if anybody knows the genesis of these games, like, are they indie games that Nintendo is seeing and is like saying that they will publish? Are they titles that Nintendo like is farming out? Like, how are these games happening? Because it's happened enough times that it seems like something that they are like, like the robot butt stomping one. I would
Yeah.
Flip Wars, like I would believe that that was a tech demo that they were like, we can just turn this into a DLC or like to like a small downloadable title. But these other ones, like Good Job and Stretchers, like that does not seem to be the case, and so I'm just super curious how they come about.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. It's very it's interesting that they never like get around to grafting Nintendo IP onto it too, right? Like
Yeah.
that it's not like Mario at work or like Waluigi is an EMT, which is horrifying.
Patrick, I feel like Stretchers, we could fairly say that like maybe we put a dollar sign or something. It's like I'd be interested in this if somebody
Mm,
else bought it and I could just
sure.
experience it.
It's an if then statement.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Next up is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, developed by Game Freak. I played the demo of this, and I don't need to play anymore, Mark. I don't know about
Yeah.
you.
No, I feel the same. Do you know what? I'm a little worried, not worried, but like new Pokemon Snap, which comes out at the end of April.
Yeah,
We
I am
keep
also worried. Yeah,
yeah, because it's like I know I'm buying this, but am I actually going to enjoy it? Remains to be seen. But yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, not something I'm interested in going back to.
Jump Rope Challenge. I think we can probably just skip a cute little experience. But no one has any reason to get back into that. Paper Mario: The Origami King.
Loved it. Loved my time with it. Had a blast. I can't think of any reason to go back. I'm not even sure it's one that like in the future I'm going to be like, ooh, I need to revisit the Origami King.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't move on this one. Paper Mario is sorta my jam. Mario RPGs are, and like, I mean, maybe I'm just a little bit burnt out from getting the two remakes of the Mario and Luigi games on 3DS. So this is one that I'm going to say that I am interested in visiting at some point, but now is not that time. Like, maybe later in the year when we're still like, what is Nintendo putting out this year? Then I'll go for Origami King.
This is one that I genuinely wish that I would have bought a physical version instead of digitally because I wish I could loan it to you.
Yeah, that would
Because
do it.
I
Honestly.
yeah, and then you wouldn't have to. Yeah, I feel like that's what I should have done, and I regret not doing it.
Then Super Mario 3D All Stars. I mean,
Yes,
playing
I will
that is
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Well, I also I haven't played Galaxy yet, and
Oh, you
so
gotta play Galaxy.
I know. I played 64. I went right into Sunshine, and then I can't even remember what was happening at the time, but I didn't play Galaxy, and so yeah, that is definitely like actively on my to do list.
That I just realized I am a dang hypocrite because I didn't play Galaxy either. I watched Sarah play it. I need to do it. I need to just play it for myself. I love that game.
Yeah.
Then is Super Mario Brothers 35, which is only going to be available until the end of March, maybe. I think I had my experience with that game. Never unlocked Luigi as a playable character. Sorry, I failed you on that one. But yeah, I think I've had my experience with that, and I'm done.
After I watched the Super Mario Brothers 35 speed run during Awful Games Done Quick
Yeah.
earlier this year, I've like understood the meta, and I understood like the meta game and like
Whoa.
how you're supposed to
You were seeing
like
the Matrix.
yeah, understood in like giant air quotes, because it's like I heard, experts talk about it, and then I
Right.
was like, "Oh, I kind of understand how I could be better at this game." So I did go back and play a little bit more of it. It didn't grab me the same way that Tetris 99 did. I think it was a cool experiment. And I would love to see them do more of things like this. But just give me NES Remix. Just give me SNES Remix.
Totally. There's something about playing Super Mario 35 as it came out right around the same time as the Game and Watch that had Super Mario Brothers 1 and Lost Levels in it. Like really brought out the difference between how Mario controls now and how Mario controlled, 35 years ago. And like I really enjoy the updates to Mario's control scheme in Super Mario Brothers 35. Like it is a fun way to execute on the Mario 1 formula. So it is a great game, but like yeah, I'm done with it. Burned out on it. Then Kirby Fighters 2, which I think we said earlier, we're just throwing in the get out of here. We don't care about this category.
Yeah.
And then also from HAL Laboratory, Part-Time UFO. Mark, did you play this at all? I only
No.
played it on phone like years
Yeah.
ago.
I didn't play it at all. And this is another one where like the price is just a little bit too much for me to want to dive in.
Is it like $20?
No, it's not. I think it's like 10. Like I don't think it's like outrageously expensive, but it's just one of those things where it's like, man, I spend so much money on like games that I don't really play,
Yeah.
and like should I just get this on mobile if I'm going to get it?
Because it's like $4 on mobile. So
Yeah. Next up is Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, and I guarantee you, Patrick, I am never going to play this. Although I would love to. This is one that maybe we put a dollar sign next to, because if somebody has it and I can go over to their house someday and watch them play
that's the part of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that not only do we need the game and cart itself, but we need access to a huge space that we do not have in our apartments in Los Angeles. So
yeah. So I think Mario Kart Live, something sadly I will probably never experience. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I think I've determined that the Pikmin series is just not for me.
Did you pick it up at all, or were you
No, I didn't. In fact,
blinders up?
I didn't even play the demo. I think I've just like, for whatever reason, I just do not have the capacity in my heart for Pikmin. I just don't care enough. Although I have to say, kind of like with Captain Toad, where like when you examine it closely, you're like, this is extremely adorable,
Objectively cute. Yeah.
When my husband was playing like some Switch games, like he was doing Ring Fit Adventure and stuff like that, we chose like a user icon for him, and he was like immediately attracted to the Pikmin. That's because like they are cute, like they're very like expressive, and like they're fun. So I appreciate that part of it, but I'm never gonna play Pikmin 3.
This one is 100% on my like, Patrick, get back to this game. You like it. You enjoy it when you're playing it. And also it has co-op. And there was a period where I was like this close to convincing Sarah to play it with me, and then I never followed through on it because, we're all stuck at home and depressed all the time, and I was like, I just let that progress go to waste.
Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. This is one I felt overwhelmed by. I was putting time into it. I was really enjoying it. And then so many icons showed up on the map, and just more and more
So
icons.
many.
And I felt overwhelmed. It stressed me out because it just felt like I was never making progress, because as soon as I did something, like as soon as I did one mission, like 5 more showed up, and I think that was supposed to like surprise and delight me, but it did not. It just caused anxiety.
Right. I really wish they could just mainline this game of just being like, now move to the next thing, now to the next thing. And whatever like bonuses or stat increases I would get from like visiting the stable and like either having the resources that they want or not. Because you can't like find you just encounter stuff. Like you don't you can't like go out hunting for it. That that you would just get those automatically and you could just like experience the game. This is another one where I'm like, I really should get back to it, and I sort of enjoy it when I'm like at it, but I'm gonna do a let's be honest with ourselves here kind of thing and say that I am not getting back to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
I part of me thinks that like, well, actually, I'm not going to drag you into it. Other than I would love for you to hopefully like keep me honest, and in the future, like, don't let me buy a Muso game because I just don't think they're for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, really, I think we should sit each other down before buying a Muso game or a JRPG and really be like, are you ready for this right now? You know what kind of time commitment this is? Do you have at least like 2 consecutive weekends where you're planning to play the game for at least 10 hours? Because you know you need that just to get started.
Right. Yep. I think we owe it to each other.
Yes.
Fitness Boxing 2, we talked about Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light. The kind of like re-release slash first time localization slash update to the NES game that was brought over by Nintendo of America for the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem, I think.
Yes. Or possibly 35. I mean, I think it's the 35th. Same as Mario. Is that possible?
I don't think it is.
There's no way to know. There's no way to know.
Actually, yeah. So I bought this because of course I did. I think it was like $6 or something. Will I ever play it? Doubtful. But because it was only $6, I don't feel too much shame having this in my backlog.
I bought this twice. I bought the
oh, that's right. Oh my goodness, that's right.
I bought the digital version of this, and then there was also a physical version that like went on sale.
Yeah, that deluxe
that,
version,
like,
which is really cool.
Which is sweet and it's hot, but I don't even have it out. Like I have it just like sort of hidden away. And like Sarah and I were talking the other day that like it's time for us to change the amiibo that we have in our amiibo case. There's like a case that's out and just is filled with Animal Crossing characters right now and have been for the last like year. And maybe it's time to like take those down and put that like cool clear NES cartridge that's like made of glass.
Ooh, yeah.
Put that up there and then like actually play it. This is one that I am 100% like I have to play this game. I have to. I bought it twice. I mean, what am I doing? If I don't play it, I feel like it's just evidence that I've lost my mind, Mark.
How much was the deluxe edition?
I think it was $50 or $60.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean it's cool. It's really cool.
There's a lot of cool stuff in there. The art book is of lower quality than I would have liked it to be.
Finally, when we're talking about released games, we have Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. This one I have not dived into yet because I have so much momentum going with Tokyo Mirage Sessions. And so I'm seeing that through to the end before I pivot to Super Mario 3D World. So I don't really know how to count this one as far as like backlog is concerned because it's not a active going concern for me right now, but I also don't, it's top of mind, so I don't feel like it's like backlog.
Yeah, and this is one that for me, like my single player experience of it is done. I will continue to play it with Sarah whenever she wants, and Mark, if you ever want to hit me up, I will also happily help you through any part of that game. It's fun to run around. Also, the last time we played it together, we used the Nintendo Switch Online app to chat with each other, like to speak. That's works.
Right, we did. Yeah, it does work. So I think it's fair to put an asterisk on this one to keep me honest, but I do intend to go back to it very soon.
So that's it. Those are all of the games that Nintendo has published on the Nintendo Switch. I said 66, but I had a Kirby game on here twice, so I edited it in real time. Those 65 games, we don't need to go through what we know that Nintendo is publishing in the next couple months, right?
I don't think so, only because it depresses me to think that we are actively putting unreleased games into our backlog just because of like
it's a preemptive. Yeah, it's not good.
It's nice to live with the dream that it's like, yes, this video game that I am about to purchase, I know that I will play it all the way through.
So that's what our backlogs look like. If you want to tell us what your backlogs look like, you can email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Also, if we, if one of us has said, like, I put my blinders up on that, or we scoffed at something and you're like, hold on a second, guys. Hold on, fellas. I listen to your show and I know the kind of games you like and I think you're being stupid. Also email us about that. I would love to hear it. All right, Mark, let's close this out. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or on Twitter or wherever you share stuff. It's all very good. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying you can keep us honest too. Sit us down, have a talk. We know we're not going to play that RPG. Thank you for listening.
Ever wanted to hear from the neighbor at 9 Cloverfield Lane? Or what if I told you that Dr. Loomis's worst patient wasn't Michael Myers? I'm Adam Peacock, host of the podcast My Neighbors Are Dead. Join me each week as I talk to the lesser-known characters from your favorite horror films. Each week is an all-new, fully improvised journey into the unknown featuring friends and luminaries from the worlds of comedy, horror, and beyond.
New episodes every Tuesday on Campfire Media. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
Campfire.